To add some additional units to our game, we need some more sprites. And before we go into coding additional units for the game, I thought I'd quickly show how I create the sprites for use in the game. So there's no real magic involved. What I do is I use two assets. So I use the Kai Lausberg's Adventure character pack, and I use a Unity and an asset from the Unity store called Animation Baker. Let's see. This one, the Animation Baker Studio 3D to 2D. And I'll quickly show how I use it and how I set this up. So let's start by launching Unity Hub. Then let's create a new project. This should be a regular 3D project, and I'll call it ISO render tutorial. Location is fine. It needs an organization. Don't need Unity Cloud. Let's create a project. And what I'll make sure of is that even if you don't have Unity or don't have access to the asset to do the animation baking, I'll make sure that all the sprites that you need in the project are also available as downloads. So this is really an optional thing, just as give an insight in how you can create 2D sprites from 3D objects, but it's not necessary to follow along. So this is the empty standard scene you get from Unity, and it's time to start importing assets. So we'll start by importing the Animation Baker using Package Manager, and then using my assets, and we should filter on Baker, otherwise it'll probably be too many. So that's this one, we can import it. And then we need to make sure we have our Adventure Kit that I downloaded, so we can just drag it into Unity and it will import it. So we now have both the models as well as the Animation Baking Studio imported. The Animation Baking Studio contains a demo scene, and that scene is actually pretty useful for us because it's completely set up to do all the animation baking. So what it'll do is it has these models already in here, and we can hide them if you want. But what we really need to do is we go to the Kai kit, we take the characters, the FBX version, and we take our rogue and draw it into the scene. So our rogue is now here, and it should be at 0, 0, 0 position. Shouldn't have any rotation, etc. But we can also do is, you can see it has a lot of different weapons now. I want the rogue to use a crossbow, so what I'll do is I'll disable the knives and other weapons we don't need. So we'll remove these ones. So the right hand is only holding the crossbow, and on the other we will take out the offhand knife, and that should be enough. So this is the rogue. To use it with the Animation Studio, we need to make it a model, and we do that by assigning the mesh model script. And all we need to do is add an animation that we wanted to play. So let's search for an idle animation, and there are a couple of ones here, but we'll use the rogue one. And then we click on add to the model list. So that's enough to set up the model. Let's go into a studio, As we can see, our model is now in the list. Now it's time to set up our studio correctly. So we need an orthographic camera, and we need to change at least the resolution a bit. Let's take a lower resolution. Also, I don't want any trim and I don't want any packing. And what you notice is that our model is very much at the top half of our screen. I would like it to be a bit more centered, so I'll offset the model by 1. So it becomes nice and centered. So that's that. Then we need to look at our rotation. The slope angle is 30 degrees. That's how much you look from the top down towards the model. And this is similar to the projection used in the tiles for the environment. So that fits very nicely. We do have a base angle of 45 degrees. That's the same as that we have in our definition of rotations. However, rotations rotate differently in Unity and in our system, so we need to convert rotations into other values. These values are used in the file names, and this will make them look correctly for us, so we can apply those. We don't need shadow, we don't need extraction, we have a preview, we have the correct resolution, we want 4 frames, and then we can create a sample. Well, the sample is a bit faster, let's look a bit slower, and then we can see indeed this animation is working. We should no trim, no packing. We need to choose an export folder. So let's choose an export folder, or create one if it is there yet. And then we can bake the model with its animations, and then we can look into the Finder. Let's see. So this is the one we just created. We sort by type, and then we have all the animation frames for the various directions exported, and these are now ready to be used in Xcode. But there's one additional step I take is I want to import them as double resolution assets. So I rename them, but this is optional. It depends on whether this is what you need. By changing .pngs to add to x.png, when Xcode imports, they are added as high DPI or retina resolution sprites, meaning that they will appear somewhat sharper, but less big on the screen. If you don't need this, or you use different resolution, then of course you can play around with it. And this should be enough for now. Of course, you can play around with changing lighting, changing the shaders being used, shadowing, etc. But this at least gets you started. Also, I still believe that having handcrafted sprites look better than these rendered sprites. But if you're like me and you're not really a pixel artist, then this at least gets you something that you can start using and gets you working. Otherwise, feel free to really create hand-crafted sprites, and they will probably look very good and very nice. So thanks for watching and have a good day.